I've been a little salty about Trump after the Epstein thing. I'm like, bro, come on, you can't drop the ball. But since he got rid of Bolton, I figure we celebrate today because I know a lot of people are like, no, are you turning on Trump? I'm not turning. I need to see some situationals. You know what I'm saying? I need to see the swamp being drained. If I see the swamp getting filled and some of the biggest swamp monsters disappearing with no video footage, I start to feel a little swampy. I start feeling dirty. I gotta take a shower. So, I had to kind of, you get it. All right. First story of the day is Donald Trump has tweeted today, and it's all over the news now. I'm just going to read the tweet. Real Donald Trump on Twitter. Oh, I didn't even know Donald Trump had a Twitter. Just kidding. I informed John Bolton last night that his services are no longer needed at the White House. I disagreed strongly with many of his suggestions, as did others in the administration, and therefore I asked John for his resignation, which was given to me this morning. I thank John very much for his service. I'll be naming a new national security advisor next week. Very interesting. So, John Bolton is out at the Trump administration. I'm going to read some just for fun. This is from a few months ago. Sorry. Yahoo News. It says, let me guess, you want to nuke them all. Trump constantly baiting John Bolton in front of officials, report says. So I guess people were reporting that Trump was trolling Bolton by saying, let me guess, you just want to nuke them all? And then also this is Raw Story who said, is Ireland one of those countries you want to invade? Trump once joked to John Bolton, who wants to nuke them all. So I guess, reports were behind closed door. Trump was just trolling Bolton. He was like, is Ireland one of those countries you want to invade? You trying to nuke everybody? John Bolton's like, no, not everybody, just most people. So John Bolton was probably one of the most unpopular people in Trump's cabinet among Trump supporters and a lot of progressives who don't like Trump, because a lot of people feel that he is a warmonger and what many would call a neocon or a neoconservative. And if you look into that whole movement, the neoconservative movement and the John Bolton-esque, it's like John Bolton, like, you got your like George Bushy, Mitt Romney type people, and then you got your like Ben Shapiro type people, and it just seems like they always want to start a war, and it seems like they've had an agenda for like 20 years. I mean, there's people in Bush's administrations who came out and were like, guys, all of these countries were kind of planned 15 years ago, and then 9/11 happens, and then they're like, we're going to go here, then here, then here. I'm all for protecting America. I'm strong. I'm not weak. I don't want to like lower our military, and I don't want to, not be strong. But these neoconservatives, these John Bolton types, just don't seem like they're trying to protect America. To me, they just seem like they're always trying to start a war, and I don't trust them. We're gonna go through. So I'm glad that they got rid of them. Let me know what you think. So I'm gonna read some of the responses. A lot of people were pumped about it. One of them being Rand Paul. We'll read this article real quick. Rand Paul apparently said, I think the threat of the war worldwide goes down exponentially with John Bolton out of the White House. Mitt Romney was upset. He said the loss of John Bolton as a senior leader in the foreign policy is an extraordinary loss for our nation and for the White House. Sure it is, Mitt. Ben Shapiro was not happy. We'll just read some responses. Ben Shapiro said, This is terrible for the White House. Bolton was correct about the Taliban. The state wasn't. Bolton has been a hawkish voice for a tough national security policy, and his ouster likely signals that Trump's approach will be significantly softer from this point forward. So Ben's very upset. There's not a war that Ben Shapiro doesn't want to start, but he won't enlist for some reason. Maybe he's not strong enough to really actually do anything. But, I get it. He disagrees with Trump. That's fine. Among Trump's, I guess Nancy Pelosi's upset. Interestingly enough, Ilhan Omar likes it. Elizabeth Warren likes it. It's got a mixed response from the left. Some people are just disagreeing and disagree. A lot of people really didn't like John Bolton, though. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But for me, if you really look at a lot of these situations, like in Iraq, you got Afghanistan, you have Syria, there's a lot of proxy wars going on. It's not just what they say. Like, they act like they really care about Bashar al-Assad and, we got to get rid of him, we got to get rid of them. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. You got, Turkey's there, Russia's there, you have Iran is there. You have different terrorist organizations, and just nothing's really added up to me. I'm not like a total idiot when it comes to like, oh, the U.S. needs to defund their military completely, and we just need to, not. I know you have to be strong. I'm not weak in any sense, and I think personally, I think it's a mischaracterization to say that Trump is being softer. Trump is not soft. He's strong. But I think Trump is not a warmonger. He doesn't want to start wars. And people like, like the Shapiros and the neocons, it's not just that, in my perspective, there's a debate to be had, but it's not just that they want to, have a strong arm for America. They actively want to go into every country. It's like, who do they not want to blow up and nuke? I mean, people who work with Shapiro, who I've been on their show, I mean, I really do like Andrew Klavan, but he's joking about how he wants to blow up Iran. He's like, oh, if we nuked Iran, the world would be a better place. That's 82 million people. When you attack an entire country, especially Iran, you go to, their major cities, they look like American cities. It's not like a terrible place by any means as far as infrastructure and people. There's a lot of great people there. You got to watch what you do. In Syria, they tried to do that. They said, oh, we got to disarm, and it's called regime change, as a lot of you guys know. How do you really regime change a country that's, what do you kill the leader, and then what do you do then? How do you rebuild a whole country? It's not very easy to do. They tried to do it in Libya, and it collapsed and didn't work out. Someone said Bolton was a bad batch for Trump. I mean, you look into the history of Bolton, and a lot of these guys, they just always want war. They nonstop want America at war, and if you don't choose the right war, I don't think it makes America safe. A lot of, whether you served or people who served, a lot of people have died, been injured, been mentally affected. It's very traumatic to be at war. And if you look at the last 10 years or so, I would not say that America is safer because of a lot of these wars. I mean, Syria, if you really follow what happened in Syria, there's other people in there. There's Russia and such, but the United States went in to try to do what John Bolton wants to do, is regime change. Let's kill the leader of Syria. But the news doesn't report, because a lot of Americans think that, oh, Syria, Middle East, it must be terrible. They hate Christians. And in Syria, it's not really true. I would say in the Middle East, they're one of the more pro-Christian countries. So America starts funding rebels, and all of a sudden terrorist groups expand all over Syria. All of a sudden Syria is terrible. All of a sudden the Syrian cities are taken over because the United States is trying to take it over. So now you have what is called destabilization. You destabilize a country when you start a total proxy war in it. And then once Syria was destabilized, there were millions of people who didn't know where to go. And then once those people didn't know where to go, the United Nations and Democrats and probably some conservatives and Canada and the United States and Europe feels bad, and they're like, we got to take these people in. Then you take in the people and you realize a lot of them weren't even really refugees to begin with. And if you just don't do what Ben Shapiro and John Bolton wants to do, you don't have to have a huge refugee crisis. You could just leave people in the country that they belong in, that they live in. So that's the sneaky part about the neoconservative to me. I'm open for debate. I'm open for discussion. I don't want to attack people or anything, but the Ben Shapiro types and the John Bolton types, they act like they're conservative, and like Ben Shapiro will be like, he won't say I hate, but like Iran, the Muslims, they're so bad. But then what they do is they destabilize the region, and then those people that they claim to hate so much get flooded in America and Canada and Europe, and it becomes an issue because you're bringing in people that you can't vet. A lot of people don't have papers and documents, and a lot of people aren't even from the countries they say they are, so you don't get the best crowd all the time. And that's kind of the sneaky, deceptive tactic, in my perspective, of many of the Shapiro types, is they act like they're fighting that enemy, but what they really do is bring that people that they claim to be fighting into your country while they're acting like they're going to stop it. If you start a war with Iran right now, which Trump is trying to avoid, and the John Boltons are breathing down his neck, the Shapiros are breathing down his neck, these people want it so bad that I don't even trust that they wouldn't start a false flag to then try to lower Trump. Every time Trump tries to pull out of war, there's some catastrophe that you've never seen before. Trump's like, we're going to leave Syria. And then all of a sudden they're gassing their own people. It's like, oh my God, they just randomly decided to kill 50 of their own. And that's not even the full story. If you really track what's going on in Syria, the media says that Syria is attacking, their own citizens in this region. But if you look at that region, that's the one region where terrorists are still present. So the United States, like Tulsi Gabbard has said, and she's taking a lot of flack with it, the United States is weirdly enough protecting terrorists. They've started this proxy war against the Syrian government, and then Russia joined in and Iran joined in, and now it's a big problem. But they have the right to get rid of terrorist organizations in their country. I definitely like the move. In my perspective, all the very trustworthy, good people, such as Rand Paul and others, are very pro this move. All these sneaky, deceptive liars are all of a sudden the Mitt Romneys, the Shapiros, and the Boltons. They're always the ones that are mad. But if you really track what they're saying, what they're doing, they're not like I said, a lot of people think I'm mean or I'm like picking on people. The more I see the more lies that stack up, I'm like, man, I really don't, I don't hate these people, but I really don't like these people. I really don't trust these people. And I think there's a lot of very false conservative leaders that kind of feed you. They're like, ooh, we can debate transgenders. Cool. We're pro-life. Great. That's awesome. And I'm not being sarcastic. It is, we're pro-free speech, but when push comes to shove, they're not pro-free speech. They're snowflakes who lie about hate speech and use terminology that then gets pushed into legislation to then cripple the United States First Amendment. It's conservative. That's why I've gotten a lot of heat recently, because it's the Ben Shapiro conservatives who do that. He's lied dozens of times. I don't know when he doesn't lie. He didn't want Trump to win, even though he's conservative. He constantly disagrees with everything Trump does when Trump's actually right. He supports Bolton. He's mad at the trade deals. It's like the dude is such a slippery snake. I can't ignore it. It's like I can't see a day that he doesn't lie. And it's like if you want a war with Iran so bad, like there's not a country Bolton didn't want war with. If Ben wants a war so bad, why isn't he enlisted in the military? I don't understand. Fight for your country. And I think it's a great move. And everybody has their own perspective on Trump. And I know a lot of people think he's sold out and he's shilling. Some people love him and just blindly follow every move. I do think that he really doesn't like war. I don't think Trump likes war. I think he's trying to finesse a lot of situations. The world's a complex place. You have Israel, you have Saudi Arabia, you have the United States, you have the deep state. You have so many entities at once, and probably deeper than even that. I do think Trump is trying to finesse it all. He's trying to please people. He doesn't want war. He's not weak. I don't agree with that analysis that Trump's weak and he's just pulling out. It's just like, how long are you going to stay in a country? How much taxpayer dollars are going to be lost? And if you look at Libya and Syria, I don't think it had a positive effect. I think it had a negative effect not only in that region, but the Bolton policy of just like, attack first, fight, fight. While they're fighting, they're funding people who are, jihadist type terrorist people, where it's like, we're going to fight the terrorists by funding very jihadist rebels and rebel groups. And it doesn't always go as planned. So I like strength, but I don't like the Bolton neocon policy. And the more you look into these people, they're very sneaky. I mean, all you have to do is look at when Trump got elected. It kind of like sifted everybody out. Trump got in, and then all of a sudden Mitt Romney shows his true colors, and you're like, oh, Mitt Romney's not who I thought he was. John McCain shows his true colors, and everyone's like, whoa, I thought John McCain was like this super conservative guy. The Koch brothers show their true colors, and you're like, whoa, I thought the Koch brothers were conservative. Why are they pro-open borders? So the Trump administration, I think, has been a blessing in disguise, where it's really put a lot of people forward. And someone said, I don't think anyone wants war. That's not. I agree with you. The citizens don't want war, but a lot of people do want war. Trust me, John Bolton wants war. Ben Shapiro wants war. They really want war, and they want us. Ben wants to start a war and then suggest it's anti-Semitic of you to suggest that he wants to start a war for the reason he wants to start a war. He's a very, very sneaky guy. I mean, most people don't want war, but trust me, Ben Shapiro wants war, John Bolton wants war, and they have an agenda that has, a lot more to do with other things that people don't even think of. I mean, you talk about American security, you talk about other stuff, there's other interests in war. I mean, people did studies into Dick Cheney, and there's all sorts of, mainstream stuff on that. There's people who have financial reasons for war. There's people who have religious reasons for war. There's people who have, other reasons that they want to do it. And some people probably think it's the right move. I'm not just gonna say that it's like all terrible and evil. Some people maybe really think that that's the right move. And I don't know. I look at things and I I just don't agree with these Bolton types. So I'm kind of glad that it didn't happen. And I want to explain real quick too, because I don't mean to pick on. I really don't. Because a lot of people recently, I know there's a lot of conservatives who, they like a lot of different people, like Ben. I don't hate Ben or anything, and I'm not jealous. Like, people are like, oh my God. Here's why I've really saw his true colors recently. I don't agree with it. I'm gonna read one of his recent tweets, and I'm just gonna show you. Try to use your head. If you like me, you like Ben. I don't want you to dislike him, but if I lie to you, I want people to call me out and be like, Anomaly is just blatantly lying to you. Here's what Ben said recently, and this really showed me who he really is. He said, American Jews, whether ethnic or religious, are loyal to America, not Israel. Any dual loyalty supposition is anti-Semitism. So he's saying American Jews, whether they're ethnic Jews or religious Jews, are loyal to America, not Israel. Any dual loyalty supposition is anti-Semitism. So he's saying every Jew, whether they're ethnic or loyal, is loyal to America. That's his statement. That's a lie. I'm sorry. That's facts don't care about your feelings. That's one of the biggest lies I've ever heard in my life. I'm Italian, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Polish, I'm Czechoslovakian, I'm Christian. At least sometimes Christians are like, you're not as Christian as me, but you get it. I would never say every single person of my religion or my, I also like Taoism, I like spirituality. Every single person's loyal to America. Every single ethnic person that agrees with me, every single religious person that agrees with me, everybody that has my ideology or my race is loyal to America. That's not true. Every Italian's not loyal. Every Christian's not loyal to America. I just had a conversation with Christians last night about how a lot of Christians are deceiving America. A lot of Christian leaders in these mega churches are deceiving the American people. Christians know that. Every Jew is not loyal to America, whether religious or... So the fact that Ben Shapiro would say that is highly suspicious, highly dishonest, highly deceptive. And then he follows it up and says, any dual loyalty supposition is anti-Semitism. So if you suggest that they have dual loyalty, there's Italians who have dual loyalty, there's Christians who have dual loyalties to other countries, there's all sorts of people have multiple loyalties in this world. But perhaps the most loyal people can't be loyal, or else it's anti-Semitism. Do you realize who this guy is? He's not a free speech person. He's not even really a conservative. He's a snake. I don't know any other way to put it. It's one thing to protect your people, to love your people, to say that, don't hate us, don't discriminate against us, we can't have that. He's trying to say every ethnic Jew and every religious Jew is loyal to America, and it's hate speech to say otherwise. He's the guy who stands up and fights against hate speech. And meanwhile, they're passing these fake religious bills in Florida that say it's anti-Semitic to say this, it's anti-Semitic to say this, it's anti-Semitic to say this. They're using that as a shield to take away your free speech. Meanwhile, he says nothing about the Orthodox Jewish people in New York City who are being forced injections by the government. There's a lot of Jewish people who hit me up and say thank you so much because they're interested in medical freedom, and they understand that their medical freedom as an American citizen is being taken away in California. It's being taken away in New York City, and a lot of Orthodox Jews don't want to get injection, and ethnic everybody. There's a lot of people who want medical freedom. He says nothing about that. He doesn't care about the protection of the people. He wants to say it's illegal for you, as he's trying to start all these wars. He's like, I'm going to start a war. I'm never going to fight in a war. I'm going to fight for hate speech or free speech, but it's anti-Semitic for you to suggest that every single person of my race and my religion isn't loyal to America. This guy is the biggest snake out there. There's not a war he doesn't want to start. He doesn't want you to be allowed to say it. He thinks it's hate speech for you to suggest that every single person of his race or his religion isn't loyal to America. Like all of these sickos who are, raping kids and putting out pedophilia content in the media, they're loyal to America, and it's anti-Semitic for you to say otherwise. Dude, that's why he annoys me, because he's like the number one, Christian and conservative deceptor. He's got all these Christians lining up like, oh my God, we have the same values. And meanwhile, he's not even, he never even likes Trump. And you don't have to like Trump to be conservatives. There's a lot, but there's everything that Trump's right on, Ben disagrees with them. I disagree with Trump when he's wrong. Everything that he's right about, he disagrees with. And then he tries to say, this is the big one that I'm really, I don't like. He tries to say that it's hate speech as they're passing anti-First Amendment laws. It's hate speech to suggest the truth. So now the truth should now be illegal and anti-Semitic, according to Ben Shapiro. This guy is, him and John Bolton, are very, very sneaky. I can't not see it. The more I just see it popping up on my feed, I'm like, dude, it's hard to figure out what he's not lying about. There's only a few things. But overall, that's the story today. I just wanted to explain why I always point that out, because people are like, why do you keep talking about him? I'm like, because he's one of the top conservatives who's selling out your free speech, who's saying it's illegal for you to suggest something that's factual. A fact is now illegal to him because he wants to be a protected class, his race and his religion. He wants to be a protected class while he lectures you about how the left is doing what he's doing. He's like, they want to be a protected class, and they say that hate speech should be illegal. And then he's like, but my people, there's no way that every one of them is loyal. Whether they're ethnic or religious, they're loyal, and it's anti-Semitic to suggest otherwise. Well, I want to start a war with John Bolton, but if you suggest I want to do it for the reason that I probably do want to do it, then you're anti-Semitic, and I'm going to work with the ADL and Ron DeSantis to pass hate speech laws. They're going to rig Google in my favor, and you can't say anything about it. It's like, let's not do that, buddy. It's very, very deceptive. And a lot of the stuff that they're doing, I'm just so pro First Amendment. It's like, dude, the fact that conservatives and Republicans are now passing anti-First Amendment legislation should be a wake-up call. And I want to say one more time before I move on, medical freedom. If you want to talk about the protection of Jewish people in this country, like Shapiro wants to all the time, there are people that are of Jewish ethnic and religion who don't want the government to inject them with needles. No person should want the government to mandatory tell your kid or you what to pump into your body. That's not okay. I mean, you can go back to Nazi Germany, you could go to Stalin, to Mao. This is real life situations that you don't want the government mandating in your life, or the Democrats that you always talk about. So these liars who constantly want to say they're standing up for Jewish Americans, these liars who constantly want to say they're conservative and conserving freedoms, none of them talk about medical freedom. They're taking it away in front of your eyes in California. They're taking it away in front of your eyes in New York City. And there's a lot of people who thank me constantly, of all backgrounds, for saying this, because for some reason these same neocon conservatives and these same I'm standing up for the First Amendment conservatives, they never talk about medical freedom. And what crazier, takeaway of freedom could it be if the government goes from saying you need to inject your kid with 2 shots, to 3 shots, to 10 shots, to 12 shots, to 14 shots, to then making it mandatory injections. Very big deal. Shapiro never talks about it. No conservative talks about it. And I'm tired of them acting like they're the gatekeeper of anti-Semitism and hate speech and free speech and all these wars, and they don't even want to talk about this stuff. It's very, very important, and I just keep pushing the boundary because I'm like, guys, you don't have, it's not that you're anti-vax, it's just like, do you want the government to pump your kids up? There is consequence. There are people who have, bad reactions to that. It's a fact, and they're actively trying to censor that content and say that it didn't happen. Talk to some of these mothers. It's not a conspiracy theory. I'm sure it's helped a lot of people, but it's also hurt some people. So the government should not be jacking these kids up with 15 injections and saying if you don't do it, do what you want to do. But it's like, if you don't see how medicine has been very corrupt, and then government telling you that you're not allowed to opt out or your kid can't go to public school, red flag, guys. I just really want to push that boundary as well, because Bolton will come and go, but this is something that is affecting a lot of Americans. All right, we're going to move on to the next story. I just wanted to explain myself, because I always get misconstrued. I don't say this to be mean. I'm just trying to push the boundary of these top conservatives who aren't really conserving the things they say they're going to. Second story is by the Epoch Times, I wanted to say. Planned Parenthood staff admits to supplying aborted baby parts for-profit brokers. So I'm going to read this article. Very disgusting. This is something that Alex Jones and many others talked about, and it was just, called a conspiracy theory. The first day of court proceedings on September 3rd from Planned Parenthood's lawsuit against the Center for Medical Progress started with Planned Parenthood staffers taking a stand in San Francisco and admitting to providing fetal tissues in exchange for money, reported by the Center of Medical Progress website. So you could read the whole article yourself. This is from the article. Planned Parenthood abortion providers appeared under oath in court today and admitted supplying the body parts of children in the womb to for-profit brokers like STEM Express. I can't say that this is 100% true because, this is the Epoch Times report. They're pretty accurate. This is the Center for Medical Progress reporting it. I wasn't in the court case, but here's what I want to say. There's big money in organ harvesting. That just like the media never talks about human trafficking. It's a disgusting thing. They're trafficking kids. They're trafficking babies. They're raping women. They're farming kids. I mean, in Brazil, John of God got caught basically. It was like a sex slavery farm, like this disgusting stuff that you couldn't even imagine. It really exists, and it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So it's tough for Americans because we live in this great world. It's hard for us to even fathom that level of evil, but it's really out there. It's been confirmed by multiple sources. So you have to understand, in China, organ harvesting is huge. So when you talk about America and you talk about Planned Parenthood, you can be pro-abortion for the sense of this argument. You could say, first term, second term I agree with, but late term I don't really agree with. You could have your opinion, whatever it is, but understand, if you just live in this world of like, oh no, there's no way that they could do that for me. They just really want they want what's best for the women. You have to understand, if they're dealing with billions and millions of dollars every year of taxpayer money, of fetal matter that is very valuable on these markets, it's not outlandish to think that they would sell it, because either they're throwing out billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars of fetal stuff and organs, or they're selling it. I mean, one of the two. Either they're I wouldn't say wasting it, but throwing it out, or they're selling it. And if you don't think it's true, I just want to play this clip real quick from Ellen to show you that celebrities are openly bragging about rubbing chopped off baby foreskin penises on their face with some skin serum. They're injecting baby penises into their face to then get anti-aging properties. It sounds insane and disgusting, but the disclosure is right in the public, and listen to the audience laugh at it. I mean, it's a gross wake-up call, but people need to see this. Let's see, we gotta turn the volume on.
In which one forces through microneedling. It's like a little roller with these, some of you, I think many of you know it, and it pushes through the skin and ruptures the collagen and then boosts it. You look like a burn victim for a day, but then it pushes the
What are you pushing into the skin, Sandra?
Sarah?
Carrie? What are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby. That's what it is.
Okay.
Who comes up with this?
I don't think. It's not like I'm lying there with little pieces all over my face. It's like.
I'm not lying there with pieces all over my face. They tell you. So first of all, I've never really thought about circumcision until the last year. But they tell your kids in America and maybe a few other countries, not very many though. They tell you, chop your dicks off, guys. When your kids when your kid's born, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna inject them with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 vaccines. And if you question that it might have a negative effect on your kid, just question it. You're an anti-vaxxer and you're anti-science. That's what they say. So just pump your kid up with all these sorts of shots, and don't question if he might have a bad reaction. Kids are allergic to nuts. Kids are allergic to, drinks. Kids have different allergies and different reactions to stuff. But you're anti-science and you're anti-vaxxers to suggest that pumping your newborn baby that just got born with all these shots, that's anti-science. And then they tell you, immediately if you have a boy, chop his dick off, chop little parts of his skin. It's circumcision. It's great. It's more clean. And, I never really questioned. I'm like, yeah, for sure. That's why they're doing it. And then you find out that Sandra Bullock and a lot of these celebrities are injecting those little baby penises into their face, for this beautiful anti-aging property. So thanks. I'm glad my penis sacrifice worked well on your face. I'm glad that that's where it's going. The reason I say this is because, how did that company get the Korean baby foreskin penises that Sandra Bullock's injecting into her face? How did they get it? They probably got it from a hospital who chopped their dicks off. So the reason I'm saying that is when it comes to aborted fetal tissues, the Epoch Times is now reporting that, they're selling baby body parts. And my question is, why wouldn't they? It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. People are going to buy this stuff. And, it's very disgusting and sick. But you have, people just think oh no, they would never do that. But why do you think they're doing this stuff? And I want to show you just as another wake-up call. This is the Associated Press. Someone said they're using fetal cells in vaccines. I heard that too. I mean, look at the ingredients of vaccines. I haven't even read them yet, but if you want to know, figure it out. You know, I don't know that for sure, but I've heard that from a lot of people. Look at the ingredients in it and see what they're pumping into you, and then ask if maybe that could possibly have a negative effect on some children. I'll give you a hint. It does. I'm not saying how many. Maybe it helps more people than it hurts. I don't know, but the science is nowhere settled, and there's proven court cases. There's billions of dollars that the government's paying out to people. And even on their government website, they say, well, yeah, we're paying out billions of dollars for vaccine injuries, but, about 70% of those, are not even real. So this is the government website saying this. So if 70% of them are real, let's say even their numbers are right, that means 30% of them are, or you're at least seeming to admit that 30% of them are. That's how many kids is that? Is it 1? Is it 10? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Is it 1,000,000? Is it 10 million? I think the American public, has the right to know. Instead of listening to Neil deGrasse Bison Tyson, just go on Joe Rogan. Everybody there, I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm egotistical. I know everything about the universe. The universe is solved. I've solved it all. Shut up, Neil deGrasse Bison Tyson. We get it. You're a total puppet. But this is the Associated Press. A woman who didn't learn she was pregnant until 26 weeks along is among thousands who cross state lines to get abortions every year. An AP analysis finds that the share of out-of-state abortions rose slightly despite the decline of abortions. So this is the big argument when I talk about to people who are pro-abortion, and I'm not judging. Listen, I'm not God. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a woman. It's not my responsibility. But the biggest thing that I've heard from most people that are very pro-abortion is they say, people don't get 26 weeks abortions. They don't get those late-term abortions. It's for medical reasons. It's only if the baby's about to die. There's no such thing as late-term abortions. All the Democrats say. They say that's a right-wing propaganda lie, that people are getting late-term abortions with no medical disability. That's what they say. Because you can be born at 24 weeks. You can be born at 20. I mean, the baby's almost fully formed. You could look at a video of where a baby is 26 weeks. It's literally like a full-on baby. It could live outside the womb. This is the Associated Press. I'm going to show you. The Associated Press admitting, if you could read, this woman, and I'll play it, a woman who didn't learn she was pregnant until 26 weeks along is among thousands who cross state lines to get abortions every year. So this is not a conspiracy theory. It's not a right-wing talk. It's a fact that people are getting full babies just slaughtered in their wombs, and they're totally cool with it. Why are they cool with it? Maybe because of what Epoch Times says. If you have a fetal tissue, or you have chopped up, who knows how much chopped up baby, your kid needs to chop his foreskin off. Okay, what are you going to do? Oh, it's for his safety. And then you go sell it to some skin serum so celebrities can inject those baby penises in their face. Okay, what about, why do you want me to get an abortion? Oh, because it's for your health. And then they go and sell the parts. If you're going to sell fetal parts that are smaller, it's not going to be as much money as a fully grown baby because a lot of its organs are bigger. So if there could be financial incentive, I'm not saying that there definitely is, to tell people that late-term abortions are now cool so that they can get more money. I mean, probably, it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars if you have a nearly fully formed baby or a fully formed baby that you abort, aka just murder and rip out. It's disgusting. This is AP, Associated Press, guys.
What I would learn the hard way is when you first stop taking birth control, that first couple weeks, that first few days, you're your most fertile. So I got pregnant in early February. And I wouldn't have the suspicion I was pregnant until about late July. I wasn't really talking to my family, so there wasn't any support there. I was feeling pretty isolated, pretty panicky. I was housing insecure at the time. I had just started a job. I didn't have any support. I didn't have any health care.
How long is this?
And they said that my procedure would cost about $10,500 to be made lightly.
All right, so basically, now she's a women's activist. I'm going to read the headline again, and we're going to move on. A woman who didn't learn she was pregnant until 26 weeks along is among thousands who cross state lines to get abortions every year. So the reason I'm saying this is I'm just letting people know multiple things. One, it's not a conspiracy. It's not a right-wing talking point. They're lying. People all the time get late-term abortions when their kid is fully formed. You know, there's a debate to be had about at what point, you know, I think there's a viable debate there. And I'm, like I said, I'm not a woman. I don't have to deal with this stuff. It's not really my responsibility. However, I just want to let people know that think that this doesn't happen. It does happen. And this is mainstream Associated Press admitting that it happens thousands of times a year because they promote it. They act like, oh, that's a talking point. You know, people don't do that unless they're hurt. No, it's not. She has no signs of that. She just killed her baby when it was about to be born, like right as it's born. And as the news is saying, Planned Parenthood staff, this is Epoch Times again, Planned Parenthood staff admits to supplying aborted baby parts to for-profit brokers. I don't know any other way to say this nicely. People got to understand that there's some very sick, twisted people in a lot of areas that care about money and power and control and, you know, more than they care about people. So they're masking, you know, the slaughter of fully formed babies in the guise of women's empowerment. It's very sick. It's very satanic, some could say. You know, they're chopping kids' penis skins off and then, you know, using them for very expensive skin serums so celebrities can get the anti-aging properties on their face. And you know, this is stuff that's really out there, and people need to look into it because, you know, when it's all said and done, there's some sick stuff going on out there. And I'm glad that some of it's coming out, and the Epoch Times is reporting on it. Very, very brave. And once again, late-term abortions that Democrats constantly say don't exist, they do exist. They happen thousands of times each year, and they legalized it in New York City. They legalized for pretty much any reason. They say mental health, just, you know, they basically allow you to slaughter a baby even before. There's Democrats on video saying even after birth. Like, dude, it's already living after birth. Like, he's like, well, you know, it's for a medical reason. It's now they're finally admitting that it's not just for medical reasons. They probably want the body parts. They probably want to make $500,000 instead of $10,000. They probably want to sell those parts and make, you know, I don't know that for sure, but, you know, you put one and one together, could be. That's the story of the day. Let me know what you guys think. But people got to wake up to the fact that, you know, you can't just believe these media outlets. You can't just believe these activist groups. There's a lot of fake activism. They use women, they use children, they use empowerment, they use rights, they use race, they use religion, they use gender. Then they take away your First Amendment, then they take away your Second Amendment, then they take away your medical freedom, then they try to take away your private doctor, then they try to take away the legitimacy of your private doctor, then they try to take away your ability to opt out of certain injections, and then, you know, you find out what they're really doing behind closed doors, and it's much more disgusting than you think. So I would suggest most smart people, whether liberal or conservative, would try to conserve medical freedom and not socialize or, you know, universalize, aka put in the hands of the government, the entire health industry. That's a nightmare. And I want to say too, to a lot of people who are progressive who may be watching, universal healthcare sounds great. Oh, everybody gets free healthcare. First of all, it's not free. It's taxpayer. Yes, your taxes are going to go up. Bernie Sanders admitted that. Also, it takes away private doctors, and it makes the government in charge of the entire health industry. And if you go to the most liberal states, New York and California, they're making it mandatory for your kids to get injections. I don't care if you listen to Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kalinske. They make very many good points. They do a lot of good analysis. They're lying to you when it comes to universal health care. Put one and one together. Universal health care means government control over the health industry. In the most liberal states, they're making it mandatory for your kid to get injections, or else they're not going to include him in public schools and public areas. So if you don't understand why you shouldn't put the entire health industry into the hands of the government, get rid of private doctors, get rid of private insurance, and then have the government, because that's where it happens. It doesn't happen in Texas. It's not happening in Alabama. It's in New York and California. Mandatory injections plus nowhere else to go. It's literally like a dystopian nightmare. And I don't understand why good people like Kyle Kalinske and Jimmy Dore, who are very progressive, don't understand that. What don't you get about the government shouldn't control the entire health industry? plus the government mandatory injections. This stuff is so obvious. It's crazy that so many good people are like, yeah, we're going to get healthcare and it's going to be free. It's not free. You have to pay for it. You lose your private insurance. You lose your private doctor. And then they make it so you can't opt out of an injection while they're openly admitting to you like 20 years later that all of their food and medicine policies were so far off course. The fact that diseases are on the rise, even though pills are on the rise, opioid use is on the rise, life expectancy is going down, suicide is going down. Wake up, guys. The government does not need to be involved in the healthcare industry. Bernie Sanders is lying. Elizabeth Warren's lying. All of these progressives on YouTube, they have a good heart, but they're lying to you, misleading you. And I can't figure out why they can't figure it out yet. It's very obvious. It's why I'm more libertarian. Yes, I want everybody to be helped and healed, but the government does not need any more power. They don't need any more money. They don't need any more control over the First Amendment. They don't need your guns, and they absolutely don't need your medical freedom to opt out or to question the fact that their ever-increasing medicine regimen is growing. Life expectancy is going backwards for the first time ever. Opioid use and legal drug use is on the rise. It's not very hard to figure out. It's very easy, and it's very strange to me that so many good people put politics and their utopian dream of everybody being saved. You can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves. In places like California, you have homelessness on the rise for multiple reasons. Look at the handout sheets that they're getting. They're getting too much. They're incentivized to do that. They're getting money. They're getting help. They're allowed to use drugs. They're allowed to just sit there. In a normal society, you don't just allow people to ruin your business, ruin your streets. Kids have to go through these streets. You think the government of California cares about kids? Oh no, they're trying to take away your medical freedom because they care about the kids. They want all the kids to be vaccinated. The same state that has bubonic plague, the same state that has the highest poverty, the same state where the teachers are on strike, the same state that people have to walk through and children have to walk through piss, shit, urine, tents, trash, homelessness. This is the same. They care about kids, then clean up the streets. You care about the kids, then make sure they don't have to walk through crackheads all over the place that is literally growing on every corner. Every neighborhood's getting trashed now. That wasn't always trashed 3 or 4 years ago. I know because I've lived there. Wake up, guys. They're not doing it for your health. The first thing you would do if you cared about the health of California was clean the streets that are bringing back medieval plagues. They want control. They want power, Jimmy Dore. They want power, Kyle Klinsky. They want power. Bernie Sanders knows, but these YouTubers are like, trust me, you want universal health care and government control of everything and everybody's going to be free and safe. No, that creates what's happening now. That creates more and more. Most of the people, talk to people who come from the UK, they're all drugged out. They don't need a job or they don't need help. They're screwed up because there's too many legal drugs, and also you baby everybody. You're like, oh no, they just need my help and my money and my support and they need healthcare. Talk to the hospitals, big guy. Go ask them what they do. These crackheads walk into the hospitals, and because of retard liberals, they have to give them stuff. They have to give them free food. They have to give them supplies. And then you go in with or without healthcare, and you don't even get free stuff, guys. The reason that the problem's growing, too much money, too much help, you're babying these people. Here, take a syringe. Oh, you need my help. Some of these people need a kick in their ass, or at least you have to choose. Do you want children to walk to school safe? Do you want businesses of immigrants to be able to run and not have shit, piss, and crap everywhere? Or do you want us incentivize the zombies and favor them and say, no, it's your street here. Here, you ruin everything. You ruin it all. We'll give you money. We'll give you the power. We'll make it so you can't go to a private doctor. Wake up, guys. I mean, it's really pathetic at this point. Next story I want to talk about, and then I'm going to take off, is Ringo Starr from the Beatles. This is a more fun one. Ringo Starr bravely stands out against the UK celebrity arts establishment anti-Brexit consensus. Let's watch this video. It's really awesome. Someone said, I'm not sure if it's true, but someone said